In this video, I'm going to go over rules 5 through 8. So rule 5 deals specifically with titles and suffixes. So in personal names, if you have a title that's before a name, such as Dr., Ms., Mrs., or Mr., or even Professor, Sir, or Sister, a seniority suffix such as the second, third, even junior, senior, or a professional suffix such as CRM, DDS, Mayor, MD, PhD, or Senator. Okay, that's going to be the last unit. Okay, if you have a numerical suffix such as the second or third, in addition to a junior or a mayor, senator, or senior, you're going to put the second or the third, the numeric suffix, before the alphabetic suffix. Okay, and then finally it says for personal names, if a name contains a title and a suffix such as Miss Lucy Wheeler DVM, the title Ms. is the last unit because in that case that is the least important. For business names, the titles are indexed exactly as written. So just like how we learned with rules 1 through 4, we index business names as written unless it begins with the word the. And so for this one, we're given for the first filing segment, we're given Father Tom. Okay, it's only his first name after his title. So in this case here, Father is going to be the key unit and Tom will be unit 2. Okay, here we have Ms. Rosalie Torres, CRM. So we're given a title as long as a professional suffix. Because this is still a personal name, we're going to index it first by the last name as the key unit, then her first name. Okay, her professional title would be the third unit, and then Ms. would be last. So that again is Torres as the key unit, Rosalie as unit 2, unit 3 is her professional title, and Ms. is the last unit. Okay, here we have another instance of a title as well as a professional suffix. It is somebody's last name, so I'm going to file it first under Talbot, then Darlene, DVM, and then Mrs. For Dr. D's delivery, this is a business name, so I am going to index it as it's written. Doctor is my key unit. D's is unit 2, and delivery is unit 3. Okay, the next one is another instance of a business name. We have Governor Talbot's Construction Company. I'm indexing that as written. Okay. For this one, we have Father Stephen Grzinski. So unlike the first example where we just had Father Tom, we are given the first and last name in addition to this religious title. And because we're given the first and last name, we are going to file it with the key unit of Grzinski. Stephen will be unit 2, and the religious title Father will be the last unit. For the next example, we have Grandfather Ben's Recycling. This is a business name, so I'm indexing this exactly as it's written, with grandfather as the key unit. Ben's is unit 2, and Unit 3 is recycling. The next example gives us Queen Anne II. So we're not given a last name, we are given a royal title and also the second. So when we index it, we're going to index it directly across with Queen as my key unit. Anne is Unit 2. And the second is Unit 3. Okay, and we identify these as Roman numerals, and in this case, capital I's. And next we have Mom's TLC Services. This is a business name that will be indexed as written. Mom's is my key unit. TLC is Unit 2. And Services is Unit 3. For the final example of Rule 5, we have Ms. Karen Farthing, PhD. This is a personal name, so I'm going to file it by last name first, then the first name, her professional title, and then Ms. And so if I were to put this in order, I would go through my key units first to see what file or record would be filed first. And so if I go through the first letters in the key unit, D is the first letter here. So Dr. D's delivery would be filed first. Okay, I'll then go down, and the next letter would be an F in the alphabet. So I have father and farthing, and so FAR is filed before FAT. So that gives me a 2 here and a 3 up here. The next letter after F is a G, and so we have a few G's. We have a GO, a GE, and a GR. So going in alphabetic order, the GER in Grzinski would be filed next, and then the GO in Governor, and then GR from Grandfather Ben's Recycling. Okay, the next letter to look at in my key units would be the M. There's only one M, so that tells me that Mom's TLC Services would be filed next. After M would be Q. There's only one Q, so Queen Anne II would then be filed. And the final letter would be the T's. So we have a TA and a TO. So TA would be filed before TO, and that gives me this particular order. Okay, Rule 6 deals with prefixes, articles, and particles. So if you have a foreign article or particle in a personal or a business name, and it's combined with part of a name, okay, we're going to use one single indexing unit. So if you take a look at the first filing segment example, we have Darcy, so that's a capital D with an apostrophe ARCY. That's going to be an entire unit. Okay, because this is a business name, I would index it as written. Okay, it also tells me for the second bullet point that the indexing order is not affected by a space between a prefix and the rest of the name, such as Alexander LaGuardia, and you disregard the space when we're indexing this. And so I'm going to go ahead and write this out. Notice that I'm not including the apostrophe in Darcy, and as we learned last week, I'm writing out the word and. Okay, and so I'm going to skip down to the fourth example just so that you get an idea of what it means when the indexing order is not affected by a space. So we have Mr. James Van Dyke. This is a business name, and so Van Dyke is 1 unit, and you can see all of the examples of articles and particles in the third bullet. Okay, and this is also in your e-text. So just make sure that you do review those while you're working on the jobs and the assignments. So James would be the second unit and Mr. would be unit 2. So when I write my key unit, I'm going to pretend that that space isn't there, and that becomes one word, Van Dyke. Unit 2 would have been James, and unit 3 is Mr. So I'll go ahead and do the second one. This is a personal name. La Joy is my key unit, Cindy is unit 2, RD is unit 3, and Ms. is unit 4. For the next example, we have McLean's web design. It's already together, so I'm leaving that as is. It's a business name, so I am indexing as it's written. Okay. The next one we have is Pamela St. John. So St. John will be combined. Pamela is her first name, CPA is her title. So key unit is St. John without any spaces. Unit 2 is Pamela, and unit 3 is CPA. Next we have Ms. Maureen O'Boyle. O'Boyle is her last name, so it's our key unit. Maureen is unit 2, and Ms. is unit 3. Next we have Eleanor K. DeLacy. So K is the middle initial, so that will be indexed last. Okay, here we have Mr. Mitchell St. John. So sometimes you have STE for Saint, depending on the language. So STE John is the key unit. Mitchell is unit 2. And Mr. is unit 3. Okay, here we have Gov Tomic Hall. So the Gov in this instance stands for governor, and we are given a first and last name. And because we're given the first and last name, we are going to file it first by McCall as the key unit. His first name is unit 2, and Gov would be unit 3. For the last one, we do have a business name. So that is McAdams as my key unit, paving is unit 2, and Co is unit 3. Oops, no period there. Rule 7 deals with numbers in business names. Okay, so numbers are spelled out in business names, are filed alphabetically. So if a number is written out, such as fourth dimension or 2, you would spell that out for the key unit. Okay, numbers that are written in digits, such as the 7 days market, that would be 7 as my key unit. And when you file those, it's always going to be followed by numeric numbers before any alphabetic letters. So I'm going to go ahead and do this first one. 7 days market. Next we have 17th Avenue Fashions. So it's important to note though, if you have a TH after a number or an ST such as after first or second, the ND after that, you're going to disregard that. And so this actually becomes 17 Avenue Fashions. So my key unit is only going to be 17. Unit 2 is Avenue, Fashions is Unit 3. Okay, so again, it's really important to note that we aren't including the TH, the ST, or an ND after the numeric numbers. For 21 Club Inc., this is a business name, and I am indexing that as written. 21 is my key unit. Club is Unit 2. Inc. is Unit 3. Next we have a number with a percent sign or a symbol, and there's no space between those. So when I index this, my key unit is 50, and then remember that we do need to write out our symbols. So in this case, it's 50% as my key unit, and Unit 2 is discounters. In the next example, again, we have another symbol, and that's a 65 plus sign. So when I write this out in my key unit, that's 65 plus. Retirement is Unit 2. Village is Unit 3. The next one is pretty easy. That is simply 405 Auto Body. 405 is my key unit. Auto is Unit 2. Body is Unit 3. Next we have the 500 Princess Shop. So this is a business name, and it does begin with the word the. And because it begins with the word the, that means that the next word, 500, is going to be my key unit. Okay, next we have the XXI Club. This is written in Roman numerals. And this is going to be written in alphabetic form, XXI Club. For fourth dimension printing, since fourth is written out or spelled out already, I am going to include the TH. So only if it followed a numeric number would you disregard the TH. The next one is I-90 road services. There's no space between these, so that means that I-90 is going to be my key unit. Road is Unit 2, services is Unit 3. Next we have number 1, pet grooming. So this is a symbol. There's no space between the symbol and the number, so that is 1 unit. And I write that out as number and then the number 1. Pet is Unit 2. Grooming is Unit 3. Okay, Pure 99 Imports is a business name that can be indexed as written. And finally, we have two wheels only. Again, I'm indexing that as written. The number 2 is spelled out, so when I write in my key unit, I spell it out as well. Okay, if we were to put this in order, we would always sort by numeric number first. And so 7 is the smallest number. So 7 days market would be filed first, and then 17, then 21, okay, then 50, 65 plus, okay, and then 405 is greater than 65 but less than 500. So I put that in order. And so even the next one is XXI Club. Because it's a Roman numeral, that would be filed next. Okay, and this is actually in order of how it would be filed. Rule 8 deals with organizations and institutions. So if you have a bank or financial institution, a club, college, hospital, magazines, and so forth, okay, they're going to be indexed and filed according to the names that are written on the correspondence letterheads. Okay, so let's say that we have National Business Education Association. We would index that exactly as it's written, with national as the key unit, business is unit 2, unit 3 is education, and association is unit 4. Okay, next we have Immaculate Heart Catholic Church. Again, I'm just indexing it exactly how it's written. So they're similar to business names. Here we have the Church of Religious Science. Church is my key unit. Of is unit 2. Religious is unit 3. Science is unit 4. Okay, here we have St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Remember the rule about articles and particles? So I am combining St. Paul's into one unit. Episcopal is 2, and church is unit 3. Same thing for the next one. That's St. Thomas's Lutheran Church. St. Thomas's is my key unit. Lutheran is unit 2. Church is unit 3. Okay, next we have Temple Sinai. Temple is my key unit. Okay, for the Quran Foundation, I'm still indexing that exactly as it's written. Same thing for Arma International. University of Utah Hospital. And then also New Mexico State University. Okay, and you can also do the rules 5 through 8 practice. So the first filing segment is First Methodist Church. Remember that if you have a numeric number with an ST at the end, we're going to ignore the ST. So my key unit is simply the number 1. Methodist is unit 2. Church would be unit 3. First National Bank is indexed as it's written. Because the number first is spelled out in the filing segment, I spell it out in my key unit. Okay, same thing for First Baptist Church here. Okay, here we have a magazine name, or actually a periodical name. It does begin with the word the. We also have a St. Paul. So St. Paul is my key unit, no spaces between. Chronicle is unit 2, the is unit 3. Next we have the Savannah Union Tribune. Again, it begins with the word the, so the is going to be last. Same thing with the New York Times. Okay, we have Sisters of Charity. That's going to be indexed as it's written. We have the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. There's no space between the Post and Intelligencer, so that's going to be one unit. Seattle is my key unit. The is unit 3. Okay, Fountain of Youth Spa can be indexed exactly as it's written, with Fountain as my key unit. And finally, we have One Stop Dry Cleaners. And so if I were to put this in filing order, recall that I always file my numbers first. And so we have 1 at the very top and at the bottom. So because we have 2 1s, I need to look at my second unit. So unit 2 for First Methodist Church, that's an M, and unit 2 for One Stop Dry Cleaners is an S. So M is filed before S. Okay, I don't have any numbers, so I need to then go down through the alphabet. Okay, and so the first letter would be an F. So we have 2 firsts. We have a first here and a first here, so I'm going to look at the second unit. So the B in Baptist would be filed before the N in National. And then we have a third F, and that was an FO, so that would be filed 5th. The next letter would be the N in New York Times. There's no other N's, so that is going to be 6th. Okay, the next letter would be S, and we have a few S's. We have an SA, an ST, an SI, and an SE. So SA would be filed before SE, and the SI in Sisters is filed before the ST in St. Paul. And so in Module 2, we learned about the first rules of cross-references. This week we do have more cross-referencing rules. So sometimes you have popular and coin names. You're going to file the records under the official name, and then you're going to create a cross-reference for the popular name. And let's take a look at this example. Okay, so our original card or filing segment would be Fred Meyer One-Stop Shopping. And so we would file the original correspondence with Fred as the key unit, Meyer is unit 2, 1 is unit 3, stop is 4, and shopping is 5. My cross-reference, and I'll create a little rectangle here, and let me label this as cross-reference. Okay, so my cross-reference card would be Freddy's. And I'm underlining Freddy's just because that is the key unit. Don't forget you do need to include a C reference at the bottom. So I would write C, and that would be the original filing segment, which is Fred Meyer. Sorry, and there are spaces between each one of these words. And so I have Fred Meyer One-Stop Shopping. Okay, and that way, if you only knew this company by the name Freddy's, when you look it up in the filing cabinet or a Rolodex or whatever you're using to file, when you look up Freddy's, you would see the notation to go to the Fred Meyer One-Stop Shopping file or folder. Another instance in which a cross-reference would be necessary is if you have a hyphenated name. And so just like hyphenated personal names that you learned about last week, business surnames with hyphens need to be cross-referenced for each surname combination. So if our original was Jolly Reardon Consulting Co., that would be our original filing segment. The cross-reference card that we need to create would then be Reardon, so the second half of the name, and then Jolly. You'll notice that I'm not including a space here between Reardon and Jolly. Consulting is unit 2, Co is unit 3. And my C notation would be my original filing segment, which is Jolly Reardon Consulting Co. Okay, so the next cross-reference rule deals with divisions and subsidiaries. So when one company is a subsidiary or a division or branch of another company, the name appearing on the letterhead of the branch or subsidiary is going to be the one that's indexed on the original record. And so we need to create a cross-reference under the name of the parent company. And so if we had Rico Business Systems, a division of Rico USA, my original filing segment is going to be Rico Business Systems. The cross-reference that I need to create is going to be Rico USA. So we're not going to include a division of. Okay, we only want the actual parent company name. Okay, Rico is my key unit, USA is unit 2, and my C notation is C Rico Business Systems. So again, make sure that you do create the cross-reference for the parent company. In this case, it's Rico USA. So sometimes when a business changes its name, records also need to be changed to indicate the name change. So if we had Singular Wireless and it changed its name from AT&T Wireless. So Singular would be my original key unit and Wireless is unit 2. My cross-reference that I need to create would be for AT&T Wireless. There is a symbol there, so I am spelling out, and there's also no space, so AT&T is 1 unit, Wireless is unit 2. And my C notation would refer me back to my original, which is C Singular Wireless. The final cross-reference rule this week deals with what's called a see also cross-reference. So see also indicates similar names. Okay, and it tells us that only the similar part of the name is going to be cross-referenced. This is especially true for when you have instances of Northwest, which could also be written as North with a space and a West, same thing with Southeast, or even Goodwill or Allstate. And when you're working in the jobs, I will tell you which ones will need these cross-references, but when you are doing the actual tests, you will be required to know this on your own. So if we have an original filing segment that is Allstate Insurance Co., we would originally file it as Allstate as the key unit, Insurance is unit 2, Co is unit 3. My cross-reference, and remember it says that only the similar part of the name is going to be cross-referenced. So my cross-reference card is going to be all and state. And that's because these two words can be separated. And again, I'm not including the Insurance Co. And instead of a normal C notation on the bottom, I'm doing a C also. So C also, and that's going to refer me to Allstate. Okay, so even my C also notation only refers to the similar part of the name, not the entire filing segment for Allstate Insurance Company. And so this cross-reference is just telling me that if I ever need to look for Allstate with a space between, I want to also look for files that have Allstate as one key unit. In this next example, we have Southeast Distribution Co. So Southeast could also be written as one word, but in my original filing segment, I would separate them. So my cross-reference, again, I only want to cross-reference the similar part. And if Southeast could originally have a space between the two, then my cross-reference will be Southeast without a space between the words South and East. And that's my key unit. Because this is a similar name, I'm doing a C also. And my C also notation is South space East. Okay, and we can practice through these cross-reference rules. So in the first example, we have Knapp and Crawford Fishing Gear. So this is a hyphenated business name. So that tells me that I do need to create a cross-reference for that. My original filing segment would be Knapp and Crawford. Fishing is unit 2, gear is unit 3 with Knapp and Crawford as my key unit. My cross-reference would be Crawford, Knapp-in without a space between, and then fishing gear. And my C notation would be C Knappen Crawford fishing gear. I'll need to do the same thing for this example. We have Letson Ridgeway Antique Cars. My original key unit would be Letson Ridgeway. Those are two last names. Antique is unit 2, Cars is unit 3. So my cross-reference would be Ridgeway, Letson, Antique Cars. And my C notation is C, Letson Ridgeway, Antique Cars. Here we have St. Peter's Episcopal Church. We do not need to create a cross-reference for this. This would simply only be filed under St. Peter's Episcopal and Church. Same thing for Woody's Dog and Cat Grooming. No cross-reference is needed. Okay, so the next example is Tech and Go Co., which is a division of System Solutions Corp. So remember, the cross-reference is going to be the parent company. And we don't include a division of, only the parent company name. So my parent company cross-reference is Systems Solution Corp. Okay, and in this case, Tech and Go would be my key unit, Co would be unit 2. So that is C, Tech and Go, Co. This next one we have Northwest Computer Systems. This could be a similar name because of this directional. And Northwest could be written with a space between them. So although my original filing segment is Northwest Computer Systems, the cross-reference that I need to create is going to be Northwest with a space between them. North is my key unit, unit 2 is West. And remember, for similar names, that is a C also notation. And I'm only going to refer to the similar part of this, which is C also Northwest. Okay, we also have Anchorage Daily News. Nothing needs to be done there. I'm not sure what happened with that C notation. Okay, West Park does not actually need a cross-reference. Okay, but we should make one for Allstate Supply Co. So my original filing segment would be All as my key unit, 2 is State, the third unit is Supply, Co is unit 4. Okay, I'm only going to do the similar part of for this cross-reference, and that would be Allstate if it were written as one word. Okay, my C notation would be C also. And let me put that S a little bit further away. So C also Allstate. Okay, and so this last one, I do have something missing. This is Tao Huang. So let's say I have Huang Distribution Inc. And Tao Huang Distributing Company changed its name to my original filing segment. So this is my original filing segment. My cross-reference would be Tao Huang Distributing Company. And this is a normal C notation, C Huang Distribution Inc.